Okay, guys, here we go. So it's Tuesday, the 4th of June here. Now, sorry for the delay here. I had some sort of a problem with Camtasia, which I used to record these here, but I think we've got this sorted out now. So per the polling, right? So you guys saw this. CGC was by far and away the most requested. So interesting. It's kind of a curious count here. So let's just do a quick review. Now, we've looked at this a couple of times in the past, right? As weed stocks are very hot at the moment. So I think the impulse off of the low here. So here's our lowest low. That 5 up is pretty solid. So I don't think we'll have dispute there. So from just standard ops, guys. So we get a completed impulse. Right, we draw up from 50 to 618. That's where we're looking for it. We damn near split it. So the ABC looks solid. Well, now here's where this gets a little tricky here, and I'm going to pull some of this off here. Now, we had previously, last time I looked at this, we had, see this triangle here is creating potentially some confusion here. So it looked as though there was a reasonable case to be made for this triangle here, which is more typically found in the 4, to kick up and give us, to complete an impulse here. So we'd been going up for the 5, or perhaps to challenge that high. Let me get that right up there. Okay, so based on this price action, as a matter of fact, I just mentioned here, we had a buy recommendation in here, and that got stopped out. It's a relatively small loser as the count just didn't play ball with us. But nonetheless, here I still think you want to stay on the bullish side here, and there may well be an opportunity here. So I think the way we have to count this now, given this new price information we have here, I think we've got to go into a WXY here into the A wave, up for the B, creating the expanded B wave here. And then it looks like we've come down here, and you could make a case that the 5 is done, although it's a little bit iffy. The 3's a little short here. Now, we'll get into that in a second. But just to put that in context. So the first thing we're trying to get clear on, if this is the 1 and this ABC is our 2, well, we're just getting started. So excuse me, the 3, 4, 5 would all be much higher. If we're going to get a true third here, we're way up here, right? So if this is 1, 2, well, we know that there's an algorithm here so first target would be here, second, third target for an Elliott count would put us up here. This is our shorthand for the 1618. So if we're going to get up there, if this is the 1, 2, well, we got plenty upside here. So that would put us, let's call that 117, and we're sitting down here at $43. So there's a pretty big rip potential, right? It's nothing more than potentially there. Per the count is I'm labeling it here. So I do think we're still carving out the 1, 2 of this degree. But given this count here, so what we would do, I'm going to pull this off here just to clear up the chart. So from the low, all right, so now I'm going to go to the 1 wave high. Now look what we've just done, 50 to the tick. So you have to look at that and go, okay, well, if this is correctly identified as an ABC with the expanded B wave, excuse me, are we done here? Well, it's hard not to notice that we've got the golden zone a little bit lower here, which often will be a magnet to the market. We've broken through the sell side algos. So they're technically, with regards to an algorithm fighting us here, we don't have any resistance up here. So you got to go into that subdivision here and say, well, could we be finished yet? Well, see the 1 wave actually coming down here. So on the assumption that we've got our B in here, let's see if you can see this here. If I move this off here, the 1 wave looks pretty solid. We don't get much of a kick in the 5. So that if you were measuring that, just say, is it long enough? So if that's the 1. From the 2, I'm going to use the higher pivot here. Well, so this qualifies. So if this, now that would be right here. All right, so I got the wrong one here. So that would be the 4. So I got to come down here. Okay, so meaning this can't be the 3, but this could be the 3 here. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, that's a little shaky. The ABC is good. Now, could we be done with the 4 here? Well, take note here as we go into the retrace. Look, we don't get the overlap. So me pull this off here. So if this is 1, 2, 3, up we go for the 4. I guess we can move this out of here now. You'd anticipate something technical. So let me get right on it. So what do? Into the golden zone. Just a couple of ticks to get in. Now look at this rip straight. So we just gapped right through the first algo target. So this looks like a reasonable, so clearly we have a technical pivot here. Now are we done? Well, we're getting this little series of retrace and then very shallow, or pardon me, impulse and then very shallow retrace. So if you're looking at this 5 on the assumption that the 1, 2, 3, 4 is in, now granted that's deep for a 4. So you'd have to open this up even further and say, yeah, are we done? Well, just if you tried to label it, so we can get that off of there. Okay, come on, trading view. All right, so from that 1, 2, now where's your 3? All right, here. I'm inclined to think we're still in the 3. So if we think about that swing relationships, let's take the length of the 1 projected from the 2. All right, we just use our target. So here's a candidate. Here's our high probability zone. So reasonable. So if this is going to hold here at this 50, well, then you got to do it this way. Then you'd have to be 3, 4, 5, and we'd be in here at the 50. It's not terrible. So then you might look length of the 1 projected from the 4. Well, we're right at the 100. So this kind of makes me think maybe we were done here, right? This is so we get a little technical reaction. So you have the combination of that wave relationship where 5 is equal to the length of 1, not uncommon. The 1, 2 here is a little skinny. All right, so are you 1, 2? It doesn't look like it could be done. So if this is going to go, it's just out of curiosity. Any divergence here to work with? Nothing really. So it looks like this is the stronger wave here. So we don't get any help from the oscillator. So it's a bit of a hurry up and wait and see. Is the 5 going to come lower and the 3 is going to end up going here, which I'm slightly more inclined to think we'd get. So that would mean if we're going to go from this 2 to this 3, well, right about here's where we're looking for the 4, right? So, well, you could say anything in this zone. Here's our high probability zone, but we don't have much of a 3 wave there. So if we got something like this, oh, then you'd be anticipating that. So look where that algo target is, right? And then we've got some structure, and then here's your golden zone down here. So pulling back out on that. All right, does it look like we're done? I'm more inclined to think there's one more push down, but certainly this confluence here at the 50 and the 100 makes for a reasonable argument. So one thought is you could just start buying here, small accumulation here, anticipating you might be laddering in here as we come down and challenge the golden zone. So let me change this color. Oh shit! Here, let me do it this way. Let's go up a degree here, and we'll put this one in white so we can see a little better. Okay, so that I love it down here, right? So if we can get this where you would be right just in front of the golden zone. But well, let's see, the 2 would be lower. So let's go up a degree on that. So let's go minuet. Okay, so potentially now there's this is the fat stack down here where you've got just all this confluence. So this looks really juicy. So let's pull back out on that. Let's go to the 4 hour. What would that do for us? Well, that'd be ideal spot for our 2 relative. So we can think A, B, C going in. Right. So it's just impossible to know. Are we done? Well, here's the wave 1 here. This structure. You can see how I just for some reason, unless I go to the daily, I can't get that back data. But we can see the pivot here. So this was our initial kick up into the 5. So if that's the 1, this is the 2, it sure does look like we're 1, 2. So potentially now I'm going to pull this off so we can see it a little bit better. So here's the zone we're looking for. Well, of course, right? Of course, we're going to pull this up. So we've got a candidate here for a golden corner. Well, look how nicely that sets up. So if we get into this, well, there's your first target. Now, if this is 1, 2, you'd be anticipating a bigger move there. So that's potentially just a place to take a partial profit. But if you're going to get the big 3, right, we're looking for up here, right? So maybe over here. We don't know how long it's going to take. But that would be our 1618, right? Shorthand. If we're going to come down here and get the opportunity to be a buyer here in this zone. So I'm going to use anywhere from, well, let's call it 3670. The low end of that range is, what do we got? 3430. So a buyer in that zone, you've got just beautiful looking setup. Right, now the caveat is, right, so one, we haven't gotten down here yet. So we could be stalling right here at the 50. That could be enough. So don't shy away from a small bite. If you're looking for the opportunity, maybe a small piece there, and you could average down your price here if we get the one more rollover. I wouldn't take it beyond 32, let's call it 32.29, 28, reasonable spot for a stop. No reason to take a big hit here. Just no reason for it. So right, nice little risk reward. So look at what that risk reward is going to be. All right, so let's just say we split the difference. So you got a split fill. If we get the third here, we'll give it max room. There's 10 to 1. Going for that third, 10.5 to 1. Very, very low risk here, right? So you could do it with options, right? A couple of different ways you could do it. Market's been coming down, so the calls are going to be reasonably priced. You're not going to be full of volatility. So one more push down, right? You could buy the equity, buy the options. That's going to give you, well, so given that goes out here to October, so you'd want an option with some, 3, 4, 5 months of time, so you're not just fighting the clock the whole time. So there's definitely a nice leveraged play in that. Now remember, if you do it with an option, don't overstay. That's always the temptation with an option. You go, I got plenty of time. We'll wait and see how it works out. I made that mistake so many times. That's why I repeat it every time we start talking about using options. If it breaks the low, you get the hell out, right? It's very tempting to want to stay. Well, I got 6 more months in this. Wait, we'll see how it goes, right? I've done it. Done it. Be disciplined. If it breaks your pivot that violates the trade, you just sell the option, right? Assuming you were a buyer here. If you bought the calls long, just sell the option, take the small loss, right? And if it continues to move lower, then you've got delta and time working against you. So careful with that, right? I've made that mistake. So from this low here, if we get that 10 to 1, Jesus, what's not to like? Right, but again, discipline on money management, always the key. All right, guys, I'll be back with one more shortly.